Good morning. It's nice to see you all identified and labeled in your natural habitat. Start a fire in me, let the flames run free, burn away the dross, holy fire of God. Start a fire in me, let the flames run free, burn away the dross, holy fire, so let it begin, let me be new, be used for your sake, giving glory to your name. I can live, knowing that you reside in my heart. Oh Lord, you are fire, fire of God. Start a fire in me, let the flame run free, burn away the dross, holy fire of God. Start a fire in me, let the flames run free, burn away the dross, holy fire of God. Let it be new, let it be new, let me be used for your sake, giving glory to your name. I can live, knowing that you reside in my heart. Oh Lord, you are a fire, a fire of God. So let it begin, let it be new, let me be used for your sake, giving glory to your name. I can live, knowing that you reside in my heart. Oh Lord, you are a fire, fire of God. quiet hours of the night can sometimes be the loudest. The quiet hours of the night, they won't be my proudest when they come to shake me down. In the lonesome watches of the day, there's no ship on the horizon. In the lonesome watches of the day, I see a storm arising, rising just to sink me down. The winding river flows through the dream glowing deep inside your soul. The winding river flows for all. Winding river flows through the dream flowing deep inside your soul. Winding river flows for all. When the evening embers hit the sky, crying for a shadow. When the evening embers hit the sky, they've come to beg or borrow, come to shake me down. Winding river flows through the dreams growing deep inside your soul. The winding river flows for all. The winding river flows through the dreams growing deep inside your soul. Where the winding river flows. For the quiet hours of the night can sometimes be the loudest. The quiet hours of the night, they won't be my proudest when they come to shake me down. They come to shake me down. Thank you. That's it.
Good morning. Welcome to worship. Welcome to those of you who are joining us online this morning on this day when we had an extra hour of sleep, which was hopefully a quiet, peaceful hour of sleep, not the kind that shakes us down. But what beautiful music. Thanks, Jerry. In the life of the church, we have 14 people joining the church as members this morning in the 10 a.m. service. So one at least of whom is here. Happy New Member Sunday, and what a joyful morning it is for us. The Music Patron Program is an opportunity for us to support the special music programs of FCC, both the special music programs of the Change of Pace service and of the 10 a.m. service. And right now the donation time is open. So if you have seen in the emails, there's an opportunity to give online, and you can look at our online giving page if you wish to support the Music Patron Program. Most of you have name tags this morning. Thanks, Jenny, for making sure those of us up here got them. And thanks to Jane Thompson, who has really taken the lead on this program. So at the leadership retreat in August, the deacons were at a table with some other folks, and folks were chatting and thought, man, name tags would really be a great way to open up communication with folks we don't know as well. And we thought, what better Sunday than Member Sunday to launch this? So we'll have name tags on Sundays. And when you leave today, you can put your name tag at the music stand in the back. That whiteboard there is magnetic, so take your name tag off. There will also be a place to leave them in the Welcome Center, and then just pick them up when you come in on Sundays and say hi to somebody whose name you didn't know and get to call by name now. And finally, Jenny is going to come up with an announcement from the marketing committee.
Hi, everyone. We're going to watch a video in a minute about our church, and the video is going to be shared on our church's YouTube channel and on our Facebook page and on our church website. The marketing committee would like very much for this video to be seen by people who aren't already coming to our church. And we're going to ask your help in getting that video to be shared with more people. And so a couple of ways you can help us do that. The more times that it's watched on YouTube, the more likely it is that YouTube is going to share it with other people who aren't already following our channel or maybe be watching it because they're a part of this church. So if you could share the video link by text or email or however you want to do that with your friends and family, even if you don't think they're going to come here, the more times it gets watched, the more likely YouTube is going to share it with other people. Similarly on Facebook, if you're a Facebook user, if you can go to the video link on the Facebook page, the post where the video is, if you could share it to your Facebook page and then also leave a comment on it, that tells Facebook that the video is something that people want to see, and then it's more likely to share it with other people who aren't already in our network. So if you could do those things, you'd really help us market our church to other people, and we really hope you enjoy this video.
I've attended larger churches growing up, and they were actually wonderful experiences, but they were sort of these big buildings with big parking lots, and it was easy to get lost in them a little bit.
A lot of times the content felt like it was made for a much wider audience than just me and my family and even just the congregation in the church.
The moment that I really knew that this was the right church for us was actually when we went to this new member orientation. And I remember kind of asking, like, what's the catch? Where are the rules? Like, what's your doctrine?
There is no trick, there is no catch. We are non-creedal, which means we don't say and make our members agree to the same creed that we recite week in and week out, but we do engage them. It's not about what the faith statements say, it's about what they look like while we're living them out in our lives.
And at the same time, it's based in Christianity, which is a faith that I grew up in.
It's the people who filled these pews that determine the life of the church from day to day, week to week, month to month, and era to era.
It's really about your relationship with your faith. It's really about joining in a faith community, bringing your doubts, your beliefs, your fears, whatever you wanted to bring to it. That's what it's about. That just felt really freeing. I kind of couldn't believe it.
And then for my family, we're in a church that's in the center of Ann Arbor, I think both physically and, kind of spiritually as well. The church does a lot with the community. We're not a church that is somehow separate from the world of Ann Arbor, but is actually an integral part.
And our kids, as they move around Ann Arbor, FCC is like a landmark for them. And it's really nice that we can kind of stroll in and out and feel very at home here.
Huge thank you to the Tings dads for that. No one likes that call from the pastor that was like, so, we're doing a video. Most people don't like to be on camera. But Evie recognized both Lily and I with excitement, so thanks. We're starting a new series. We are going out of futurism, and we're going to go into the series of second chances, where we talk about the many, many ways in Scripture that we see God and Jesus and disciples of Jesus and followers of faith giving and receiving second chances and what they do with them. And so we're going to start today in a Halloweenish story. It's still almost that season about demonic pigs. So we're going to start in the Sea of Galilee. But the Sea of Galilee isn't as much of a sea as it is a lake. If anyone goes up to Burt Lake, has anybody been to Burt Lake? Yep. So that's Algonquin's up there. My kids love Algonquin Camp. That's kind of like the size of Burt Lake. It's oval shaped. It's not a perfect circle. And at the top of the oval is a little wider. So on one side you have the city of Magda, and a bit north you have the city of Capernaum. So the first X. This is Magda, which is where Jesus met Mary Magdalene. And that top X is Capernaum, which he did a lot of ministry. And over here is probably Tyrus, but the region of the Gerasenes. And those symbols all mean something. So on the side that says J, that's the Jewish side of the Sea of Galilee. This is where Jesus' disciples and people lived and did their ministry. On the other side was the Gentiles, also referred to as the pagan side. This is where the region of the Gerasenes were. And on one side, the pigs. Anybody know where the pigs are on there? So pigs were unclean if you were on the Jewish side, right? But a fine way to feed your family if you're on the Gentile side. So that's hence the random pig picture. We'll get to the pigs later. The reason I have this up is to understand that before we get to the story of the demons, there was something else happening. They were at kind of in between those two red X's on the left-hand side there, and Jesus said, I want to cross the lake. Somebody needs healing. And his disciples were like, no. Like, it's about to storm. It's late. It's 8 miles across the lake. It's going to take us 2 to 3 hours to row in our rowboat. How about a different day? And Jesus says, no, we're going to go now. So out they go, and lo and behold, the storm, just like the disciples thought, kicks up. And this is the story where Jesus is asleep in the boat, right? And the disciples wake him up and say, don't you care if we die? And Jesus calms the storm. So the destination to where he was heading when he calmed the storm was that other X. He was going to the Gentile side, to the region of the Gerasenes. So that's the prequel to this story. And we'll start now in chapter 8, when they safely arrive through the storm to this region. And it's kind of a longer story, so bear with me. Oh, hold on, let me get the right gospel. We're going to read it in Luke. It does appear in Mark, but we're going to read Luke's version today, if I can find it. All right, there we go. Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite of Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles. But he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back to the abyss. The abyss was where unclean spirits went to be further tormented. And true to horror movies, if you're a horror movie fan, you do have to know the name of the demon to get it out. So that's why Jesus asked him. So don't think that the horror movies took this from the Bible, not the other way around. So he names the demon and begs him not to go in the abyss. Now there was on the hillside a large herd of swine that was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and the country. Then people came out to see what had happened, and then When they came to find Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with them, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. What's a Sunday without demonic pigs, right? This story is one of my favorites. So it's clearly got a lot going on in it. So let's unpack it together, because in it, I think there are moments of hope, and there's a lot that we can learn about second chances. So we're going to start with the man. We don't know much about him. He is never named. Have you realized that in the scripture? The demons are named, but not this man. We don't know his name. We don't know really where he came from. We don't know anything about his family, what he did before he was so tormented. All we know is that this man is in a desperate situation. He's homeless. He's living in caves. He's mostly unclothed, and he's self-harming. And when he does have human interaction, the only interaction they give him is to bind him with shackles and chains and then leave him once again. Was it a real demon that held this man? We don't know. We do know at this time that there was a lot of lack of medical science. And so how they understood things like a seizure, if someone was to seize and shake and foam in the mouth, clearly that was demon possession if they didn't have the facilities to understand that. Even some physical maladies, but many, many mental health issues were seen as demon possession because they didn't understand, and they had no idea on the neurological level how to make sense of that. So anything from strokes, especially psychotic disorders, were viewed as demon possession. So whatever the cause that made this man so tormented, he was isolated. He had no support and he had no hope. Demons these days look a little different. I had this Uncle David that I never got to meet. My grandpa came from a large family. There was 8 of them, and Uncle David was the baby of the family. And all I knew as a little kid that he was troubled. Like the adults didn't talk to the kids about why he was troubled. We just knew, you'll never meet Uncle David. We're not sure where he is. He's just troubled. I learned later that my Uncle David suffered from alcoholism. And he used to come around when my mom was really little. He'd show up at my grandpa's house and ask for money and a place to stay. And eventually my grandpa had to do what so many of us who loved folks that are dealing with addiction have to do, is set really hard boundaries. And that's what he did. He said, I can't continue to help you if you won't go into treatment. And so we kind of lost track of him. I know for a while my grandpa would track him. He'd know where he was sleeping or what areas he was panhandling. And then one day he just vanished and no one knew what happened to him. My grandma got pregnant had a pregnancy with a baby boy right after my mom was born. And out of love for this younger brother, they named this baby David. But heartbreakingly, David was stillborn. And I remember my grandma talking about it. In those days, nobody allowed you to grieve. Like, she came home from the hospital and the nursery was just gone. Like, she said that's just the way it was. And eventually she had my aunt, another baby girl, 13 years apart. And in college, my mom was helping my grandpa apply for veterans benefits. He was a World War II vet. And it occurred to her, David probably is getting these same benefits if somebody would have helped him get it. I wonder if we can track him through these veteran benefits. So she starts digging, and after months of paperwork and waiting, they get this letter that says they have found David Pritchard. He's at a Medicaid nursing home in Las Vegas. So in one of the most important trips my mom has ever made, she flew across the country with her dad and her sister, and together they went and reunited with David. Now, the years of alcoholism had its toll on David's mind and body, but he was sober now, and his loving personality was showing through once again. This is a picture of him. He kept peering at my grandpa and saying, "Man, you look so much like my brother Leon." He couldn't comprehend that it was him, but he kept shaking his head. He said, "You would have liked him. My brother Leon was a good man." I don't know if you can see it, but my grandpa and another one of his brothers opened Pritchard, their last name, Heating and Cooling, a local family HVAC business. And so he came with as many Pritchard logo clothing as he possibly could for David, and David kept saying, "That's my name." He was proud, confused, but very proud. There wasn't a dry eye in David's small bedroom that day. You know, David didn't ask to be rescued. He knew he needed it, but he didn't know where to start. We've come a long way with understanding addiction, and at the time that he was going through it, we didn't know as much about alcoholism as we do now. So often we blame the afflicted, right? We accuse them of not having the self-discipline required to pull themselves up. But now we know it requires treatment and support while you're in treatment. It is a lifelong recovery process. It takes daily and sometimes hourly efforts. But we didn't know that then. And David didn't even know it either. He just knew he wrestled with these demons that told them that having a drink was way more important than anything else. And those demons for him were more powerful than his will, more powerful than his ability to silence them. And then seemingly out of nowhere, when he didn't ask for it and he wasn't expecting it, someone decided to cross the country and appear in his room. These faces from the past. He didn't know, but he could sense they were there. David got a second chance. There were no pigs nearby waiting to take on those demons that he wrestled with. But there were these faces and these open hearts of family. Family he could recognize but not fully grasp, ready to embrace this long-lost brother and long-lost uncle they had feared for dead. My grandpa got a second chance at being the big brother he'd always wanted to be. He was able to eventually bury his little brother with the dignity he deserved. And he went to his own grave with his beloved stillborn son David buried right along with him. Sometimes we beg for second chances, and sometimes we're granted them when we haven't even sought them out. When we've given up hope that they would show or that life could somehow be lighter or brighter than the one we're living. I think that was the case for my Uncle David. He wasn't asking for a second chance, but one was given to him anyway. And in so doing, those who gave it, they received a second chance too. David was too frail at that time to really do anything with his second chance, but my grandpa and my mom and my aunt, they were not. They took the learnings from this profound experience and have used it to fuel how they invest in family and how they invest time in families now. And for the case of the man living in the caves, he didn't ask for a second chance either. Out of the blue, Jesus arrives in the middle of the storm from across the lake, from a different people and culture, and grants it anyway. And no one asked if this man living in the caves deserved it. No one asked what he did that the demon chose him to torture. That's one of the things I love about the story, because bad things happen to good people all the time. And Jesus never promises us that that won't happen. This story is not concerned with explaining to us why this man was so troubled. No one was asking him to pull himself up by his bootstraps. He was miserable, barely surviving, and out of hope. And Jesus showed up in the business of hope. Jesus shows up from across the lake and says, "You don't have to prove your worth to be healed. You get a second chance just by being you." Grace doesn't mean that you earn your second chances. Grace is accepting them with gratitude and responsibility. Now, let's talk for a minute about these pigs. One of our students, when going through confirmation, was really mad at Jesus for this story. She argued, and I can see her point, that if Jesus really loved all creatures, that he wouldn't have killed a whole herd of pigs, and he could have just healed the demon and then saved the pigs. It's probably true. So So what's with these pigs? Do they just need a dramatic effect for this story? They do say this is the most dramatic exorcism in all of the scriptures. I think it's more than dramatic effect, however. If we look at this lake picture again, I think we see a different strategy at place. Now, the target audience to which Luke was writing had a certain narrative at play. That narrative was one of exclusion, that Jesus' message wasn't for other people, it was for them. They had enough work to do on their side of the lake that they didn't want to share Jesus with those on the other side. Jesus had enough work to do with his own people. They didn't need him crossing to drive out and help demons and helping the others. So Jesus, in so doing, was making a very profound and potentially unpopular point, that second chances were given to both Jews and Gentiles, to people regardless of what side of the lake they were living on. Gentile, Jew, Greek, man, woman, slave, and free. So the author of this gospel is being strategic. He knows that his readers are going to hear this story and be a little irritated that Jesus isn't helping only his own. So he throws in the pigs, literally throws in the pigs. The unclean pigs that the folks on that side of the lake would realize they just see them as unclean, so they wouldn't be sad to see those pigs drowned, right? It's almost like a collateral consolation prize when they have to swallow that jagged pill of Jesus' message being for all people, not just for them. It's a difficult challenge to accept. It's a challenge we still see at work in our world today when they want to claim Jesus as their own, except today I think it harms far more than herds of hypothetical pigs. So that's the pigs. We're going to talk a minute now about what this demon-free man does with his second chance. Immediately when he gets it, he tells Jesus, I want to join you. I want to hop in the boat, and I'm going to go back with you and be your disciple. And Jesus tells him no. No, he says, instead, stay here and tell everybody in this region what I did for you. How strategic is this? Now Jesus' message of hope and second chances is going to get to everybody in that Gentile region from a voice of their own, of which they will listen to. That region was fearful of Jesus, and the swineherd owner is probably a little annoyed with Jesus. And so now he's getting this message of hope out in a really great way by asking this man to stay, not go with him, but stay and preach this message. What we're able to do with our second chances might not look exactly the way they want them to. I remember thinking when I was hearing the story from my family that they would fly Uncle David back, that we would find a nursing care facility for him here in Michigan where we could all visit him and take care of him better, and they didn't. That's not what they did with his second chance. But he still got one. It just looked different than what I could imagine as a 20-year-old. The healed man didn't get to jump in the boat and go join the disciples, but it still means he did important ministry and spread hope. Second chances are going to look different as we live into them. It's our challenge to trust God that this is the chance that we had been hoping for, even if it doesn't look like it right away. And if it's you who are being called to give that second chance, may you have the courage to step in the boat or get on the plane or maybe even just pick up the phone and move towards healing in the footsteps of the one we seek to follow. This week and in the weeks to come, we're going to look at how God is inviting us all to second chances, to live them, to give them, to create them. And as we do so, may you learn from the stories of this man living in the caves, stories of people like my Uncle David. Because through stormy weather and herds of demonic pigs, may we follow our teacher and our friend and our Lord of second chances. Amen.